Well, I'm Steve Cox, of course, and I'm a lifelong resident of Nelsonville. 68 years now, coming up on 69. Worked in many areas around the town, but always in the town, whether it be banking, whether it be over at the city or for the school or what have you. Just a lot of irons in the fire, and all blessed to be in Nelsonville. I've been very fortunate to be able to make my living in Nelsonville and to do most of the things I do in our town. So I'm very attached to this little town. Yeah.
Steve is very friendly, but likes his personal space, and he likes things to. He's not really into change, but he is. It's very hard to define that because he likes order and he likes things to go as scheduled but he likes to be impromptu, and he's encouraged me to make many changes in my life. He's encouraged me to do all sorts of things I never thought I would be possible, and so it's kind of conflicting, actually. He's kind of complicated in that way, because you think that he's so set in his ways, but really he's not. He embraces a lot of new changes and kind of thinks about what it would be like differently and changing things. So I think that would probably be he's up for a lot of fun things.
Yeah.
He is that fun-loving guy. He is the intelligent banker that can help you out with any of those kind of accounting situations. He is just somebody that's going to be there for you, and he truly values you as a person. If you are having a conversation with him, his mind's not somewhere else. It's on that conversation, and he is going to invest in you and want the best for you.
He's one of the most humble men you would ever meet, probably more humble than he should be. I think he, like all the nice things we're all saying about him in this video, if he knew it, he'd feel uncomfortable, I think. Like he never wants to, feel like somebody's put down, like whether he, I don't know, like he never wants to feel like he's put himself on a pedestal or like he's above anybody else. And I think a lot of people in his position and the amount of influence he has in the community would have that temptation, would be like put themselves up and say, I do all these things for Nelsonville, I deserve a little bit of glory for it. I think he wants to do these things because he wants to better his community and the lives of the people around him. And none of it is self-serving. It is because he has a love for this area and a love for the people and love for his family. So yeah, everything that he does, I genuinely think he does not do it for himself.
Oh my gosh, the nicest guy you'll ever meet, the smartest guy you'll ever meet. Well, he's been a mentor to me, obviously, taught me everything about banking. I think of him more as a big brother, honestly. I know there's a lot of people in this town that would consider Steve Cox their friend or even their best friend. And he is that, but more than that, he's my big brother. He's someone I could always go to and get great advice from.
My core values as a person, they definitely start with my faith, my Christian faith. That is the root of my values right there. Not that, like anyone else, I haven't gone down the wrong path, and God, thank God, came and got me many times. But that would be the first thing I would mention in everything, Joe. God, they say God, family, and then everything else, and that's been the case with me. My family, of course, is very important to me. Love to see my children grow up, and now my grandchildren. My wife and I have been blessed with 2 wonderful kids ourselves, and they mean the world to us. So while my work over the years has been very important to me, and all the things I do in town are, they would have to take a back seat to my faith in my family. I put it that way. So
He is just an ever-present constant. God is an ever-present constant in his life. He's always reflecting, how can I serve better? How can I not hurt someone's feelings? How can I be a better person? How can I share this by my actions? How can I act? So that his faith is a quiet presence too, but you know it. You feel it by the way he makes you feel.
yeah.
And how he treats everyone, and then just how he treats everyone. I mean, dating him, you know that I would just watch how he treated the person who cut him off as we were driving, or the waitress, or the people we pass on the street that he didn't know. He was just the most kindest person I had ever met.
Faith was a very big part of our family, like going to church on Sunday. That was like a non-negotiable, and I was so glad for that growing up, because we built that church community. I was with my family every week. We believed in that higher power, and knowing that we're not alone in this world. So I think he would never have to like tell somebody he's a Christian, or they just know it by the way he holds himself. And he's like that in every situation, no matter what. Like, he's just that steady, constant, and you know that he has a deep faith and gives everything to God and relies on that.
With the leadership roles he's had in church, he's done that for as long as I can remember. He's taught Sunday school at our church, I think, my entire life. He's led up front as a lay leader, and then when I was in junior high and when my sister was in junior high, he led the youth group, and he would always just find ways to engage the youth and show them, like, church isn't this big scary building that a lot of people think it is. It's a place where, like, we can feel Christ's love for us, and I think he really got that message of, church is something that's outside of Sundays. I have to bring Christ with me to work at the bank. I have to bring him with me to the school when I engage with others, when I coach kids, when I lead youth group. So I think that's what I really learned from him, what good ministry looks like. It's an outpouring of your love in every aspect of your life.
Bill Cox and Joanne Cox, two salt of the earth people that are gone now. I'll probably tear up here in a minute, but my dad worked for the electric company for many years, worked at Poston. He was a master carpenter, could do anything, could fix anything. Worked initially at Bacchus Lumber. A lot of people won't remember Bacchus Lumber down on Poplar Street in Nelsonville, but that's where he started his career, and that's where I spent a lot of my formative years, because we lived close by, and I trekked down there a lot to see what he was doing in his little shop down there. But I think at age 35 he got a job at the Poston Power Plant, worked the rest of his career for the electric company. My mom, she raised us for the most part until we were of high school, junior high and high school age, and then she went back to work at Nelsonville Home and Savings on the square down here, which is where I ended up after my career at First National Bank. And she worked there in banking also while I was working at First National. But they taught us a lot. They raised us right, I think. Again, like I was talking about my religion, I didn't always follow the right path with mom and dad, but they either gently or not so gently, brought me back now and then. So I couldn't have asked Joe for a better upbringing, more loving parents than my mother and father. And they were both involved in the town and well known in the town. And maybe that's where I get a little bit of it. But those are the two saints, in my opinion.
Well, he was a mama's boy. He was very close to his mother, and he just lost her recently, and so that's life-changing, when you step up into that next role. But she was very much like him, and in her actions and her faith, and he carries that on. She loved baseball, and she didn't want a funeral, so we had. She left some money, and she goes, "I want you to go to a ball game and rent a box and celebrate together as a family." So that's what we do. We go to a Clippers game, and we have a box, and every year we've done that since she's passed, and spend time together just to remember. And that's probably something he wants to. They always find a positive way, something positive to look forward to, instead of, there's grieving to do, but there's good grief, and he's taught me good grief, how to manage that, people we've lost in our lives, and that's probably a great lesson that he shares and helped me with.
Who I would interview if I had my chance is my younger mother and father, before I knew them. I talk about this to some people, and in some of the sermons I give at church sometimes, that these people had lives just like you. I mean, my kids, Casey and Kelly, don't know what Debbie and I were like growing up and what have you. And wouldn't it be neat to know all the emotions, all the thrills, all the life that these people had before we came along, and just to talk to them and see how similar their lives growing up was to our lives growing up. I think that would be so cool. Great. I'm a big movie buff. We go to movies all the time, Debbie and I. But Humphrey Bogart is my favorite actor. I'm a big black and white movie fan. And I'd talk to him too. There's people I talk to, but if I only had the choice to sit down with a couple people, mom and dad in their 20s, in their teens, just to see how life was for them, My oldest sister is Patsy Clark, and she lives in Nelsonville now. For many years, she taught in the Dayton area school system. She was a home economics professor, more or less. She went to the various schools in the Dayton area and organized that whole home economics type plan down there. So very proud of her. And then my youngest sister, Sharon Berry, they live down in the Plains now. She was a guidance counselor at Nelsonville, York for many years, and then finished her career at Athens High School as a guidance counselor. And not selfishly, but I know she was one of the best there was. So I'm sure they miss her down there, but she did a great job. My sisters, I always tell just about everyone I meet that my mom and dad had 3 kids that they raised. They had 2 high school valedictorians that they raised, and I was not one of them. So you can take that for what it's worth, I guess. Very smart, very intelligent, very, very, very wonderful sisters. We have always had a loving relationship between our family. That's a good story. We met 1980. She was a high school senior. I was a little older than her, 5 years older than her. Her teacher at the time, Mike Wilson, good friend of mine, came down to my house a lot on Poplar Street, and we, as all young people do, maybe at that age, we had parties just about every night. And he told me one night of this girl he wanted me to meet, and that was her. And we started going out shortly thereafter, and just clicked and been that way. She's a great wife. I'm not always a great husband, but she's a great wife. I think she mentions the first time she saw me, she was delivering something to our house down there for a friend of mine that lived with me, and she was working for him at the time through high school. She worked all the way through high school, and I answered the door, and she said it was a love at first sight for her. So don't play that. She won't admit to it.
probably the first time I saw him, I was actually working at a clothing store for Matt Bunning. He had a clothing store on the square, and I can't remember the name of it anymore, but I worked for him, and I needed to turn the keys in and Matt to him at his house, and Matt had a roommate, and that was Steve. And so Matt was not home, and I knocked on the door, and Steve took the keys, and he was just so nice. I'm like, wow. And it just left an impression about how nice he was to me. He didn't know me, but he treated me so kindly, and didn't think much more about it. But then I wanted to see who he was. I'm like, who is this person? And my mom and I were in a car driving past his house on Poplar Street because I just wanted to get a glimpse of him. And he came out. So I floored it. And the cops pulled me over, like right on the street. I thought, oh no, he's going to see me and know that I've been stalking his house. And he didn't. And so my mom said, why? What were you doing? And I said, Mom, that's Matt's roommate, and he is really cute. I wanted to see him, and he came out. So I had to pay a ticket, but it was worth it. So we spent that summer just kind of hanging around in groups and going to ball games, and it was during the Parade of the Hills. I had been uptown with some friends, and a mutual friend of ours, which I didn't realize, had been away to school, and she came back for that summer, and I said, so what are you up to? What are you going to be doing? She goes, well, I don't know. I'd like to get married. And she said, I think maybe Steve Cox. I'm like, what? No. So I thought, I'm going to have to pursue this a little more aggressively because someone else is interested. And so we started kind of dating then. It was during Parade of the Hills. And I was running for Miss Parade of the Hills at that time, and Crystal Howard got queen that year, and I was her first runner-up, and so we had a good time, and went down to his house after the parade, and he congratulated me, and it just kind of went on from there. It wasn't just a specific moment in time; it just evolved to that.
9 years. Into that 9th year, she said that was enough. So that's.
We were together almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of had to give him an ultimatum.
I was just an athletic sports nut, and everything I wanted to do was revolved around sports and what have you, and just being with the guys, you know. But I saw the light, and turned out well.
Well, you know, looking back, he had to wait for me to grow up a little bit. You know, I was 18 when we met, and he was pretty well established in his business, and he knew what he wanted, and I just didn't know. I knew I wanted him, but I didn't know. And, you know, at 18, it was kind of, I don't know. It was just, I don't know that he just knew I was young,
Right.
and I needed to grow up, and I did. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for the time we spent as, you know, just being single and learning to become independent away from my family and before I got married. So it was really helpful. And he's kind of like that. You know? He kind of knows what people need. We were together probably 5 or 6 years, and we kind of had a breakup, and then we would go back together, and we just couldn't imagine life without each other. And then about 9.5 years in, I was like, okay, hon, this is it. You know, if I need to be married before I'm 30, and I want to marry you. But, you know, the funny thing is, the whole 10 years, I just knew that he was my best friend, right? Yeah. And I knew that no matter what happened, he was always going to be my best friend. And I could always count on him. So I wasn't going to ever lose him, because he was that way with many of his friends. Girls and boys, you know, all the people that he'd known in his life, he was always there for them. And trustworthy, loyal, and supportive. And I thought, he's worth the wait. He'll always be my friend, but I wanted to marry him. So I kind of said, we need to do this, because he just wasn't, he said, I never want to be divorced. He said, I want to make sure, and I don't want to rush it. And I kind of felt like we weren't rushing it after 10 years. And he agreed, and so we got married. It was a short engagement. I think it was in January. It was January 7th we got engaged, and we were married on May 6th. So.
Everyone who's ever had children, so there's the best 2 days for me. The day my children were born, without a doubt, because they have brought a lot of joy to me. We've had sadness, but they are two of the best people in the world. Thanks to my wife for raising them so well. But it had to be those two. Yeah. Before those children came, the best day of your life was probably, for me, the day you get married and whatever. Those are great days. Right. But when those children come, things, and like you, I started later in life with my children. I think I was 35 when my first child was born. But if I'd have known how joyous parenthood was, I wouldn't have waited so long. I can't. Kelly, my daughter, first child and what have you. That was my wife's Kelly. Kelly's name is Kelly D. My wife's middle name is D also. We wanted to give her that, but both of us were always a fan of shorter names that went with the shorter spelling of our last name, and both loved that name, Kelly. That's where that came about. Casey's was a little different. That's one that I came up with. Now Casey's middle name is William after my dad, but Casey's first name comes from we're back to baseball again. It comes from a baseball pitcher up in Columbus, a left-hander. His name was Casey Close. He's a sports agent now, if you look it up. But I just thought that name sounded so cool. And I thought Casey Cox sounds a little bit like that. So it's just funny the things that trigger you and what have you. But his name is because of Casey Close is the name. So.
Well, he is an excellent father. I knew he would be. I'm like, I want to marry you. I want to have your children because I know what a family man that he would be, and he is definitely the family man. He leads by example. Never raised his voice. The kids didn't want to disappoint him ever. I would be off in the summers, or I was a stay-at-home mom for a while, and he was working full-time, so I was with the kids a lot. But it was always like, well, what would Dad want us to do, right? And what would we share with Dad when he got home? He does. He leads by example. He leads by his Christian faith. But it's kind of more of his actions than his words. He doesn't talk a lot. I'm more of the talker in the family than he is, but he just his quiet presence kind of leads you to want to be like that and have that desire to do better. And I think that's how he's raised our kids, just to have a desire to be a better person. Yeah. It came easy to him. He was a little nervous as an infant. I will say once their feet hit the floor, he did a little bit better. And as they got older and he could interact and do things, the baby stage really was probably something that he got nervous about. Yeah. But he did well with it. But I was a stay-at-home mom, and I enjoyed that too. So we've each had our different roles throughout, and did different parts, probably spent more time in different ways. But I would say once they got a little older is when he really felt more comfortable.
I am Kelly Forgrave. My maiden name is Kelly Cox. I'm from Nelsonville, Ohio. I graduated from Nelsonville, York City Schools, and I'm currently a teacher at Tri-County Career Center.
All right, so tell us about what it was like growing up with Steve as your dad.
One word, imaginative. The world of Steve Cox is the best. Growing up, we would play games, but they wouldn't be your typical backyard games. There'd always be a story to it, or he would tell us about how he played it when he was a kid and his imaginary friends that he had. And there was always like an extra creative part to his fun games. If you know anything about my mom, she is the fun one. And Dad, I would also consider him fun, but I did not want to disappoint him. So I did not ever want to be in trouble, because more so I didn't want to disappoint either of them. When I think about my dad, one thing that's like super special to me is anytime there was a big moment in my life, I think he knew that I had some anxious tendencies, and he would just write me a letter, like before high school homecoming, before my graduation, or just any random friend spat. There would be a letter sitting in my on my chair in my car, or my seat in my car, and it just kind of gave me that feeling that no matter what happened, he was there. He was big with our youth group at our church and making sure that we had a space to go. So that was another thing with him. He not only created those games for me and my brother, but for my friends, and we had just a safe space where we just all felt welcome and could have fun. Yeah, like no matter what happens in this outside world, like our family's a unit. I'm here for you. I even have my tattoo is from one of his letters that he wrote me, just because knowing that his love is always there, no matter what I did, was enough to get me through those hard moments.
My name's Steve Cox. I teach junior and sophomore English at Nelsonville, New York High School. I coach JV basketball as well. I was born and raised in Nelsonville, Ohio. Went to Ohio University for 4 years to get my degree in integrated language arts, and then a job opened up back here after I graduated, so took the English position, and I've just been enjoying living in Nelsonville since. I'm married to my wife Kaylee, who teaches at Logan, and we have 2 wonderful kids named Cooper and Tanner, so it takes up a lot of time.
Try to tell me what it was like growing up with Steve Cox as dad.
Okay. Yeah, it was fun. I remember a lot of my memories growing up are just about Dad coming home and him opening up the garage door and coming in, and then my sister and I just running to him and hugging him, and it's a fun thing now that I have a son that does that to me. It's kind of cool to see myself in him and myself in my dad's shoes. But it was just always so awesome growing up with a dad that the community loved, and he was like, Mom always joked with him that he was Mr. Nelsonville and everything, and we always did too, but not until growing up did I not realize like how impactful he was in our community. From announcing the football games to being a face in the bank at the square, to announcing Parade of the Hills, just those were just things. And then his role of leadership at our church too, right? Like being up front and being the lay leader and doing all these things. Growing up, that's just what Dad did. I never thought too much of it. I was like, oh, these are jobs that Dad does, But now that I'm older and care about my community, I see just the love that he has for Nelsonville in it, and for our school district too. And so, I don't know, he was just always the guy that I looked up to, but more so growing up, like he was all these important roles in the community. But for me growing up, he was a guy in the backyard I'd throw football with or play baseball with, and he was my coach and always so involved with my life, so he was just a fun person and a good man to kind of model my life after. Yeah, one of the biggest ones, like kind of a core childhood memory for me, was like in our basement we had like a little Tykes basketball hoop, and I had this imaginary team called the Nelsonville Nikes. Myself and Daniel Klein were the star players, and then a couple other people too. But I always imagined, us playing this, stiff competition, and we were always had the game of our lives. Like every night, that's just what I would do. And then I learned that Dad did that too when he was younger. So he's where I got my imagination from. But so I got to the point where the games would build up, and on the weekend, we would have the big showdown between his Wildcats and my Nelsonville Nikes. And it's just funny, a grown man and his son pretending they had all their teammates playing together, I think that's when he played my team, that was the first time his team ever lost. So, so that's one of my favorite memories with him. But yeah, it's just a really tiny memory, but it's an important one. long summer nights, like he coached me youth basketball a little bit until Jay Klein took over, and then I think Dad was happy for that because I think he enjoyed coaching basketball, but it was nice to like have like our varsity coach also help us out.
Sure.
But he always loved baseball, and he coached me in that until high school, and he coached me 1 year in high school, and we would practice out here at the high school baseball fields every summer, and it was just long summer nights, and then just something small, like I loved going to the gas station with him, and we'd get like a little, I think it was Gem sodas, and it was just something I always look forward to with him, like talking about just basking in like a good practice, a good night, and just drinking a soda, talking together, and riding in his Jeep with the top off, like those are just memories that stick with you.
As a parent. Now that I'm an adult, I see him in a different light too. Like I didn't realize all those extra things he was doing behind the scenes. He's just a steady person, a constant in a lot of people's lives. He could be that fun-loving parent, but you always knew that he had high expectations for you, and he wanted you to do your best in every situation. So I believe I parent similar to him. Like I want to have fun with my kids, but I want to teach them right from wrong. I want them to see other people's points of view. He was very good at that growing up, like understanding the other side of a situation. So I hope that I can give that to my kids.
He was, patience always the first word that comes to mind for me. Especially being a parent now, like, gosh, patience is like the core trait that you need to have as a parent. But no, I remember being young and like going through phases where like I would lean more toward mom because I felt more comfortable with her. And I think that's what a lot of young boys go through. And like Dad, for a little bit, I was a little intimidated by him just because I think he was an older man, but it was nothing that he did. It was just, growing up, just learning things. But he was patient. He was a man that I looked up to, and he was kind of like what he says goes in our house. And it's not so much my way or the highway, right? Like if I made a mistake, he would pull me to the side and kind of help me rationalize it. He wouldn't like yell at me until his face turned red or anything, but it was more so like jokingly, like Kelly and I talk about, like he would never yell at us and say that he's mad at us, but it's more so like, I'm disappointed in your decision, and like he would make you be aware of the choices that you made and make you take ownership for it instead of him delivering all like the punishment himself. So I really loved his parenting style because I think that's what helped me become more autonomous. And it also was a good way of him to just show his love toward me. But yeah, I think that all kind of comes back to just his patience.
Being an adult now and realizing all the things he did that I didn't know about, and I still don't know half the stuff he does because he is such a humble person. Growing up, playing sports, and Dad was always telling us, be quietly confident. And he embodies that. He knows he's capable. He knows we are capable, but that quiet part, like knowing, not having to brag, not having to boast, but doing what you need to do for the greater good. And I think that is him in a nutshell. He doesn't want the accolades. He'll be so mad that he has this whole video. But he really, the things he does is for other people and to better our community and the world as a whole.
I see it more and more, I think, and he and I always talked about this growing up, like when I was a teenager, we would go on walks and talk about how it was tough at times to talk about real things with my dad. Like talk about deeply about faith, or just even like girls at the time, or things that made me feel vulnerable. It was hard for me to kind of bring that up to my dad. And when I finally told him that, I was like, I don't know why this is. It's not because I'm scared that you'll put me down or make me feel bad. It's just for some reason it feels hard to talk to you about that sometimes. And we had a great conversation when I told him that, because he said I felt the same way growing up with my dad. And I loved him and respected him. But for some reason, like, it was just hard to have that man-to-man talk, and do those things. And that was great for me to kind of like relate with him on that aspect, and to realize like, okay, like something's not wrong with me in the way I'm relating to him. It's tough for dads and sons sometimes. So I think about that situation a lot because now that we're older, like I'm able to have those conversations with him if I want to.
Steve is Paw Paw.
Paw Paw.
Yeah, I'm Mama. He's Mama and Paw Paw, and he is one of the best. I think he enjoys it, more than just, having all the responsibility of raising the kids, We don't have to worry about all of that. But he still won't let them get away with anything, He's still teaching those teachable moments, and he teaches them. He loves to play ball with them. He just bought a golf cart. We were on vacation, and the house that we rented had a golf cart with it, and we had so much fun. So we came back and we got a golf cart, and we loved taking the kids for rides in it. But we really enjoy them, and they love Paw Paw. They love coming to church and seeing him up front. They run up to him, and they don't want to disappoint him either. And it's nothing that he has to say. It's just being in his presence. You don't want to disappoint the man.
It's the it's a cliche answer, but it's the people. It's the people I've grown up with, the people I know. I say the best people in the world. Everyone in their part of the world probably says that, but I've gotten to know the people, and in all the organizations I'm involved with. That's probably the most fun I have is getting to know folks, know what they do, know what they're involved in. That that pushes me to be more involved in the things they're involved with if it interests me and what have you. Things that have been near and dear to me over the years are the things that can, I think, progress Nelsonville, the things that make it what it is, and that's that's Nelsonville York High School. I'm a Buckeye through and through, and I know the value of our school and the wonderful job that our teachers have done. They got me through, and I got a career out of that, so I'm blessed with that. But so many things that this town has to offer. We've got we're a town of 5,000 people that has an opera house, which is a town like this doesn't have something like that. There's so many things. We've got a college that we need to embrace that can offer a fine education to our youth. It did for me. So it's multifaceted, but there's a lot of things in this town that really drive me or really inspire me. We've got good things in this town. Like every little town, we've got things we need to address, and I wish we could. You and I can't sit here and solve the drug problem, but we know it exists, and we would love to help. We can't sit here and solve the housing problem, but we know it exists, and to keep searching for answers to those kind of things is kind of what motivates me or inspires me. I probably can't solve them, but I can think about them and do what I can. So there's no other place for me. I've thought about it many years. When you're younger, you maybe want to go out and see the world and what have you. But Joe, I never wanted to. I wanted to live. I wanted to live close to my mom and dad. I bought the house I grew up in. That's where I first. Where Debbie and I got married, we first lived when he was transferred to Columbus. But I was going back and forth to Columbus all the time because I've told a lot of people this. Home for me is different now since they're gone. But back in my younger days, home was not a house on 450 Pleasant View Avenue where I grew up. Home was where my mom and dad lived. And when they moved back, Mom always wanted to come back here when Dad retired. They moved back over onto Lake Oak Drive. My home wasn't Pleasant View; it was Lake Oak Drive. That's home is where you grew up, and wherever they were, I wanted to be close. So I've never thought about leaving. The older people like me, they want to go to Florida and what have you. I love snow. I love winter. My friends are here. It's harder to make friends when you're older, So my friends, they live over by the school. They live on Columbus Street. They live, they live close by, and I get to see them. That means a lot to me. So I've never thought about leaving town. Don't want to. Every day in the summer at 8:30, 9 o'clock, after I had my bowl of Quisp, which was a great cereal for me back then. No one would know what it means now. But after I had that bowl of that, I was on my bicycle, and I was heading out to the city park with my friends, or down to Gray's Field, which was in our neighborhood, and it was play ball or swim the rest of the day, and not get home. Everyone says that not get home till dark. Well, that's true. I didn't get home till Batman came on, about 7:30. It was just. You think back on it, and maybe it wasn't as romantic or good as you think it was, but it was to me. I just loved this small town feel. They say back in the day, if you did something wrong, your parents would know it before you got home, and that's true. That is true, and that's okay. We had a town that looked out for each other and what have you, and I'd like to have those days back. But again, this is an old guy espousing the good old days, So, personal story that I know is that I was put in jail in second grade. And I've told this many times. I've told this at the bank many times, and they run away, the bank employees, when I do them. But for weeks, I would ride the bus to school, and on the way home, it would drop us off at the corner of the Opera House over there, and there was a Kroger's is where Fruth used to be, and now where Ohio Job and Family Services. And I would stop in there every day, second grader, with my little lunchbox, and I would go to the candy aisle, and I would take a Reese cup and a Nestle's Crunch, and I'd put them in my lunchbox. And I did this for a couple weeks, figuring, I've made it, no one's seen me and what have you. Till one day I exited the store, and the store manager was right behind me, and said, Steve, he knew me, he knew my family. Russ Klein was his name, great guy. Said, what you got in your lunchbox? I immediately broke down in tears because I knew I had been caught. And Russ told me at the time, he said, he told me what was right and what was wrong, and told me I could keep the candy bars, which I was too distraught to keep. I put them on a brick wall and went home. Told me he wouldn't let my parents know, that it'd just be between us. He lied about that, which I'm glad he did, of course. But my sister came down to the field one day where I was playing with my friends, and said, Dad wants you. And in our neighborhood, Dad, he was a great whistler, and whenever I hear that whistle, I knew it was time to come home for supper or what have you. But this time he sent my sister down to get me, and I went home and was confronted with my crime. And he told me to go get dressed in some good clothes, which I did. And he was going to take me down to the police station, which I didn't know at the time. And it's a twofold thing for me, Joe. And the fact that it goes back to, again, my religion, my faith, and the real world, I guess. Dad was going to take me to the police station. My mom, while I was getting dressed, came in and sat beside me on the bed and read the Bible to me. Read the story of Cain and Abel to me about the battle of good and evil. As an 8-year-old, you don't always understand it, but I understood the importance of it, because my mom was sitting there crying as she was reading, which I'm about to do now. So we went through that, and that's the spiritual aspect of it. And then Dad took me down to the police station and talked to Chief Max Valkenberg. I suppose this was in the late 60s. And our city had a little two jail cell back there. No one was in it at the time. And I tell the story that Max put me in jail, slammed the door, and he and my dad walked away and left me alone for 2 or 3 hours. I'm sure it was 3 or 4 minutes, but that's a story seldom told. It's a hard story for me to tell because of the emotion of it, and my dad setting me up in the real world, and my mother showing me the spiritual aspects of things. I love that story, and it set a tone for my life for sure. And so I've got a jail record. I talk about the Nelsonville, the hub of the town being the Nelsonville Public Square, and the beauty of that, and the uniqueness of that, and it all starts there for me. And one of the, again, back in the good old days, the things that you like was all the shops open around the square and all the people milling around the square and what have you. Those would be great to have those days back and to see those full again. But the people that come to town, you tell them this is where things start on the square, and then you branch out and you say, well, the Opera House is on the end of the square. We've got beautiful things that we've done around the square, roundabouts and what have you. They talk right now about Nelsonville. The political climate is, I don't know, I wouldn't say iffy, but sometimes we don't get the good reputation right now for all the things happening. Even though our city government, our council has done the best job they can, we seem to exaggerate the spats and what have you, and make people want to see that kind of news. They don't want to see good news, but there is good news that has happened in Nelsonville. This Nelson Commons Park over here, where our swimming pool is. A lot of people, again, don't know that, but that land was donated by the Bear Brothers Foundation to the city. That swimming pool was built with funds from people like Mike Brooks, like Steve Hotel, with a lot of individual funds. People in this town have always been very giving, and I would tell people that we've got a giving town, a close town, a town with the same problems that everyone else has that we want to fix, that are hard to find a fix for, but that there's great things to do here. We're kind of in the middle of a beautiful campus at Ohio University and Hocking Hills on the other end of us. We're kind of in the middle of that here with great things happening. You got your railroad, you got your we've made this Hocking River a place for people to come, a destination now. You can get on Adventure Pro and rent a kayak or canoe and what have you. Who would have ever thought, me growing up, that the Hocking River would bring people to this town? I thought it just meant me and Greg Oakley on an inflatable raft heading down through town. That's what happened back in those days. And I think it's true in most small towns, but the middle class is kind of gone these days. In Nelsonville, you have your richer, more high income type people, and then it seems like that middle class that used to work at Post and Plant or at Doctor's Hospital, somewhere in town, you can make a living on the public square back in the day at the one of the Five and Dimes or at First National Bank. That's my career was made there. I don't know if you could do that in town today. Those jobs have dried up. They've left. I would love to see that middle class come back. I am a guy that thinks the less fortunate always need a hand, not because they've got their hands out, but because they need that hand to step up. I think those in the middle class always aspire to step up. I think everyone in town should be inspired to do the best they can in life, whether it be education, whether it be job, whether it be raising a family, whatever you're doing, do the best in your life. And I think for Nelsonville, there's a lot of things we can pinpoint, what have you. And luckily, for me, I'm involved in a lot of it just because of all these boards and committees I'm on, which I counted up the other day, 9 or 10 boards that I'm on. So I know a lot of what's needed, what's going on. I can't fix most of it, but I do know, and I can and hopefully help with that. But there's always things we can do better with. you'd like to bring industry to Nelsonville. Unfortunately, we're setting in a flood area here now, so you can't build anything in town. But boy, you can do the best you can with what you've got, and we can restore our neighborhoods. We can make the housing better. We can uplift people. People said when the bypass came that it would ruin Nelsonville. Where it didn't. It didn't ruin Nelsonville. It's easier to get to now. You can get to a job quicker now, what have you. We can be a place that people want to come to. We as a city have to come together and make that happen. And I have confidence that we will. We have bad times like everyone else, but I know we'll come together. We always have. My thing with Nelsonville, and I think in many cases we're doing that right now. We're addressing the infrastructure of Nelsonville with some sewer, gas line projects and what have you, which is very, very important. And I think we're starting to address the housing issue a bit. I talked about our neighborhoods being a little blighted in many cases, and I think we're starting to address that. But the going forward for me, I think to bring families to town, we also have to address the beautification and the recreational aspects of Nelsonville for people that might move in and the people who are here, what have you. We've got a dog park coming into the south end of town. I think that's going to be really nice. East end of town, I should have said. But also we've got committees talking about what we can do beautification wise at Nelson Commons. Some things we can do maybe down at Polyfield. Although we all recognize as Nelsonvilleites that we're going to have that flooded every year, so it's kind of hard to put anything, permanent down there. But I think, and these elections coming up and our transition to merit form of government is going to be very important because there's a lot of issues to address, and they can only be addressed if you have a cohesive working unit over there, on your council and your mayors and what have you. But I'm excited. I have met with a few city officials over the past couple of weeks, and I think we've got some good projects going. And I'm really excited because Nelsonville right now, we talked about the middle class being gone and Post and Plant not being here, Doctors Hospital. So we got to find who we are. And if it's tourism, if it's that kind of thing, we got to have things to bring the people in. And those are beautification projects that maybe we haven't been able to address over the past few years with the infrastructure needs and what have you. So I'm excited. Hocking Hills, that's exploded with tourism right now, and they were in the same boat. They had the Goodyear factory, the Smead, and all that, which they don't have anymore either. But they have transitioned to that tourism type industry, and we can do the same. We've got great things to explore around here. Yeah.
Well, that's also funny. We always joked and called him Mr. Nelsonville, as a joke. But you stop and think, at least in my adult lifetime, who's more Nelsonville than Steve Cox? I mean, he's there to help, numerous boards, for one thing. Prairie of the Hills, I mean, he's been the voice in the face of the Prairie of the Hills, Mr. Microphone on the stage all the time. Nelsonville, York, whenever they need something, he's there. Been in the PA booth there. So Mr. Nelsonville, absolutely.
I think his impact is so positive because he loves the town. He grew up here. I basically grew up here. Our children have chosen to live here. There's so much good in this town, and there's so much more that can be done. There's a lot of potential, and he sees potential, and that's another one of his qualities. He sees potential in people, in the town, and once you see it, you believe that it can happen. And I think that's the impact he makes. Just yesterday, or at church Sunday, Tricia Dean said to me, she said, I'd like to see some picnic tables on the square. And she said, it'd be really nice because no one really has a place to sit down. I'm like, oh. And I said, yeah, that sounds nice. And at dinner, I mentioned it to Steve. I said, Tricia mentioned she'd like to have picnic tables. He goes, oh, really? Well, how many does she want? And what might that look like? And then he started thinking, and I would say today he's probably met with some people and has got the ball rolling on that because it's such a good idea. So he takes someone's ideas and he doesn't squash them. He's just like, oh, that's a great idea. Well, let's do this and maybe do something else, and let's find some money for that. And he's on a lot of boards, and he does know there's some money out there, and he knows avenues to get them, and that's helpful because there's a lot of good people with a lot of good ideas, but maybe not have the connections, and he has a lot of good connections. And he values those connections because it's people like him that want to help. And I think that's the impact, he's made on Nelsonville.
Growing up, I was very aware of his impact on our sports. He was always in like the biddy leagues and being in charge of that and coaching us. And like, it's amazing now that I'm starting to do the coaching and seeing the impact that he had in coaching other coaches and being a part of a bigger picture there. But that's only like a small part of what he did. Like all the boards he was on, all the extra like volunteer hours, like he had his hand in about everything that happened in Nelsonville, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah, growing up, like I said, I never really realized it. Like I thought bankers, he just went to work, worked 9 to 5, and that was it. But like I see how Farmers Bank now and like First National Bank when he works there, how integral a part of a community they are, whether it's giving money and scholarships or sponsoring different like youth leagues and high school stuff. They do so much to just support the kids and different teams and different organizations in this area. So that's one way that he kind of contributes to community, but also his time. Like I think money's a cool thing if you have that as his business does. But the fact that he spends so much time here announcing volleyball games, basketball games, and the football games, like I think that when you give up your time, that's, especially the older you get, you realize that's the most valuable resource you have. And that's what he gives away for this community. And I think that honestly is the biggest thing that shows how much he loves our city and our school.